There is a decent chance that somewhere in your yard right now, growing in a spot you walk past every single day, there is a plant quietly rolling out a welcome mat for two of the things you least want near your family: snakes and ticks. And I want to be careful here because I am not trying to frighten you off gardening. I love these plants, most of them, and some of them are probably in my own beds. The plant itself is almost never the real problem. What matters is the kind of hiding place it creates down at ground level, and whether you let it turn into the cool, damp, shadowy little world that snakes and ticks are desperate to move into. Once you understand that, and I'm going to make it very clear, you will look at your whole yard differently, and you will know exactly which plants to watch and exactly what to do about them. I have been gardening for over 25 years, and I have learned this the hard way, pulling a tick off the back of my own knee more than once after an afternoon in the wrong bed. So this is not theory. This is the stuff I genuinely wish somebody had told me 30 years ago. We are going to count down 15 of them, from 15 down to 1, and the one at number 1 is, according to actual research, the single worst tick-harboring plant in the entire country, and it is sitting in thousands of ordinary front yards because people think it is a pretty little shrub. Some states have even started banning it. Stay with me for that one. And right in the middle, I am going to explain the one thing that ties every plant on this list together. The thing that actually determines whether you have a problem or not. Once you get that, you will not need me or anyone else to tell you if a plant is safe. You will just know. And I will tell you the good news too, because for almost every risky plant here, there is a lovely safe swap that gives you the same look without the welcome mat. Before we start, do me a favor and drop your state down in the comments because snakes and ticks vary a lot by region, and I like to know where you are all gardening. All right, let us get into it. Number 15, dense ornamental grasses, the tall clumping kind. Let us start with the ones that surprise people because they are so popular right now. The big, beautiful ornamental grasses, miscanthus, pampas grass, fountain grass, those tall, feathery clumps that sway so nicely in the breeze and show up in every landscaping magazine. Here is the trouble. The tall grass is a ladder. Ticks do a thing called questing, where they climb up a blade of grass, stretch out their little front legs, and wait for a warm body to brush past so they can grab on. The taller and denser the grass, the higher they can climb, and the more of them the clump can hold. And down at the base, that thick mound of blades holds in moisture and shade and stays humid all day, which is exactly the damp little hideaway a tick needs to survive. Snakes like it too, for the cover. Now, I am not telling you to rip out your grasses. I am telling you to be smart about them. Keep them in contained clumps, not long flopping borders. Cut them hard to the ground once a year and keep the base clear of old dead blades and leaf litter. And please do not plant a big grass right beside a walkway, a patio, or where the grandchildren play. If you want that graceful movement in a safer form, a shorter grass like little Bluestem gives you the same feel with a more open, airy base that ticks find far less cozy. Number 14, English ivy. It looks so romantic climbing an old wall or carpeting a shady bank where nothing else will grow. And it is one of the most reliable tick and snake habitats you can plant, which is why you will see it on this list more than once in spirit. English ivy grows into a thick, dense mat right at ground level, and that mat does 3 things all at once, every one of them a gift to a tick. It holds moisture against the soil, it blocks out the sun so the ground stays cool and dark, and it creates a sheltered layer that the mice and voles love, and mice are the little taxis that carry ticks right into your yard in the first place. So the ivy shelters the mouse, and the mouse delivers the ticks. A snake, meanwhile, reads that same cool dark mat as a perfect place to hide and hunt. If you have a bank of ivy up against the house, or along a path you use, that is worth rethinking. Thin it, keep it well away from where you walk and sit, and never let it pile up into a deep mat next to the foundation. There are lovely native ground covers that do not behave this way, and I will point you to the safe swaps as we go. Number 13, Pachysandra and other dense ground cover mats. Right alongside the ivy, and just as guilty, is Pachysandra, that glossy green carpet people plant under trees and along the shady north side of the house. And really, this whole number stands in for a family of plants. The thick mat-forming ground covers, including periwinkle, which some of you call vinca, and winter creeper. They all share the exact same flaw. They form a solid, unbroken blanket a few inches deep that traps humidity, keeps the soil dark and damp, and gives ticks and the rodents that carry them a cool, protected world to live in, often right up against your foundation and your walkways, which is the worst possible place for it. It looks tidy from above. Underneath, it is a different story. The fix is not to swear off ground covers entirely. It is to choose airier ones and to break up big solid mats with strips of gravel or mulch, especially between the planting and any area where people walk. If you want a ground cover that actually works against ticks, creeping thyme is a wonderful one, It stays low, it lets air move through, and its aromatic oils are the kind of smell ticks would rather avoid. Number 12, honeysuckle. Honeysuckle smells like a summer evening, and the pollinators adore it, and I would never talk you out of loving it. But the bush and vine honeysuckles, left to their own devices, grow into big tangled thickets, and a tangled thicket is a 5-star hotel for ticks and the birds and mice that ferry them around. The problem is the tangle. All those crossing crowded stems create a dense, shaded, humid interior where the air never really moves and the ground never really dries. Research on invasive honeysuckle has actually found more ticks and more infected ticks in areas where it takes over, precisely because it draws in the animals that carry them. So enjoy your honeysuckle, but keep it open and honest. Prune it hard and regularly. Clear out the dead stems from the center, and if it is on a fence, thin it so you can see daylight through it rather than letting it become a solid wall. An open, airy honeysuckle is a much smaller problem than a neglected thicket. Number 11, untrimmed privacy hedges, especially Arborvitae. This one catches people off guard because a privacy hedge feels like the responsible, tidy choice, and a well-kept one is fine. It is the neglected one that turns on you. When a dense evergreen hedge, and the popular Arborvitae, sometimes called thuja, is the classic example, is allowed to grow thick and shaggy and is never thinned, it creates a long shaded corridor of still, humid air running right along your property line. The inside of that hedge stops getting sunlight, the ground beneath stays permanently damp. Dead needles and leaves pile up at the base, and you have built a tick highway from one end of your yard to the other. Snakes will happily travel that same sheltered corridor. You do not have to give up your privacy. You just have to keep the hedge honest. Trim it so light and air reach the lower parts. Rake out the litter that collects underneath and keep the base clear. A hedge that breathes is a hedge that stays a hedge, and not a wildlife corridor. Number 10, ferns planted in deep shade. I have a real soft spot for ferns, so this one pains me a little, but it belongs here. Ferns are ancient plants that evolved to thrive in exactly the conditions ticks love best. Shade, damp, still air, low light. When you plant a big sweep of ferns in a moist, shady corner, and then let the fronds get thick and let the leaf litter build up underneath, you have essentially recreated the damp forest floor where ticks feel most at home. The fronds hold the humidity down near the soil and give the ticks a sheltered platform to wait on. It is not that the fern is poisonous or evil, it is that it makes the one microclimate you do not want near the house. You can absolutely still grow ferns, just be thoughtful about where. Keep them away from seeding areas and paths. Do not let the bed turn into a deep, damp mat of old fronds and fallen leaves, and give the area as much air movement as you can. A few ferns in an out-of-the-way spot are a joy. A thick, damp fernery right beside the patio is asking for company you do not want. Now let me stop here for a moment because this is the thing I promised you, and it is the single most useful minute in this whole video. You have probably noticed by now that I keep saying the same words over and over. Dense, damp, shady, humid, leaf litter. That is not an accident, that is the whole secret, and here it is in one sentence. It is almost never the plant that attracts the snakes and the ticks. It is the conditions the plant creates down at ground level. Ticks cannot fly, and they cannot jump. They dry out and die in open sun and moving air. So what they need to survive at all is a cool, damp, shady, sheltered layer close to the ground where the humidity stays high, plus the mice and voles that actually carry them, which need that same cover. Snakes want the very same thing, a dark, protected place to hide and to hunt. So any plant at all, that creates a thick, damp, shady, undisturbed mat or thicket at ground level is a candidate. And any plant, even the ones on this list that you keep open, airy, trimmed, and clear of litter, is far less of a risk. That is the whole game. Once you can look at a plant and ask, does this create a damp, shady hiding place down low, or does it let light and air through, you will never again need a list like this one. You will just know. And it means the power is entirely in your hands, because the very same plant can be a problem or perfectly fine depending on nothing more than how you keep it. If that one idea just changed how you see your yard, do me a kindness and hit subscribe, because plain, honest gardening that actually protects you and the people you love is the whole reason this channel exists. Now let us get through the rest because the top of the list is where the real offenders live. Number 9, Creeping Juniper and low sprawling shrubs. Low, spreading, mat-forming shrubs like Creeping Juniper look wonderful tumbling over a wall or filling a dry bank, and they hold the soil beautifully. But those low, horizontal branches, growing just above the ground, create a shaded, protected corridor underneath. And that undershrub space stays cool and hidden, and is a genuine favorite of snakes looking for somewhere to shelter and hunt for insects and mice. Keep these away from the foundation and from doorways and steps. Keep the area under and around them clear of debris, and you take away most of the appeal. Number 8. Wild Brambles, Blackberry, and Raspberry Thickets. Now, I grow raspberries, and I would not give them up for anything, so hear me clearly. A tidy, trellised, well-pruned berry patch is a joy and a small risk. It is the wild, unmanaged bramble thicket. The kind that takes over a back corner or a fence line, that is the problem. Those thorny, tangled brambles grow into dense, impenetrable mounds that trap moisture and shade and are almost impossible to keep clear underneath. And they pull in birds, rodents, and deer, all of which carry ticks. Keep your berries pruned and contained on supports, and cut back or clear out any wild bramble thicket creeping in from the edges, especially near where people go. Number 7. Forsythia and other dense thicket-forming shrubs. Forsythia is the great yellow shout of early spring, and I love it for that, but left unpruned, those arching branches root where they touch and build up into a dense, dark thicket, and underneath that thicket the ground stays moist and shaded and undisturbed, which is, by now, a phrase you recognize as trouble. The fix is simple, and it keeps the plant beautiful. Prune it properly right after it flowers, thin out the oldest branches to open the middle up to light and air, and do not let it collapse into a solid mound. An open, well-shaped forsythia is a delight and a much smaller worry. Number 6. Tall, unmowed wildflower and meadow patches. The wildflower meadow is having a real moment, and I understand the appeal. All those pollinators, all that easy color. But a tall, thick, unmowed patch of flowers and grasses, lovely as it is functionally the same as tall grass to a tick. Height to climb, density to hide in, humidity down below. The flowers themselves, your black-eyed Susans and asters and goldenrod, are not the villains. The unmown density is, so if you want a meadow patch, keep a neatly mowed strip between it and your lawn and your paths, so there is a clear dry buffer, and do not let it press right up against the areas where you and the family actually spend time. A meadow with a mowed frame around it is a beautiful and much safer thing. Number 5. Hostas and other deer favorite plants. This one works in a slightly different way, and it is a clever bit of the puzzle. Hostas, along with daylilies and tulips, are among the very favorite foods of deer. And deer are one of the biggest tick taxis there are. A single deer can carry a staggering number of ticks and drop them wherever it browses. So when you plant a big buffet of the plants deer love best, right up near your house, you are quietly inviting the deer in for dinner, and the deer bring their passengers. The hosta is not harboring the tick itself so much as it is ringing the dinner bell for the animal that delivers them. If you have a deer problem and a tick problem, look hard at how much deer candy you have planted close to the house, and consider moving the most tempting plants further out, or fencing, or choosing things deer tend to leave alone. Number 4. Virginia creeper and rampant climbing vines. Virginia creeper, which people often confuse with poison ivy and its rampant vining cousins, spread fast and do two risky things at once. They climb and they sprawl into a thick ground cover. That combination gives you a tangled mat below and a leafy ladder above, moisture and shade and cover all in one aggressive package, spreading further every year. If you have it, the job is to keep it from forming a thick mat near where people go and to keep it off the ground and out of the seating areas. Contained and watched, it is manageable. Left to run, it blankets everything, and a blanket is exactly what we are trying to avoid. Number 3. Boxwood and dense foundation shrubs planted tight to the house. Here we are, into the top 3, and this one matters because of where it sits. Boxwood and other dense twiggy foundation shrubs are planted by the millions in a tight row right along the base of the house. And a dense boxwood holds a shaded, humid, still pocket of air inside and underneath it all day long. Put that right against your foundation, right under your windows, right beside your front door, and you have placed a little tick and rodent refuge at the exact points where your family passes closest, every single day. It is not that boxwood is uniquely evil. It is the combination of a dense shrub and that high traffic location. Keep foundation shrubs thinned so air moves through them. Hold them a bit away from the actual wall. Keep the ground beneath them clear and dry, and do not let them grow into a solid, unbroken hedge pressed against the house. Number 2. English ivy climbing and matting against the house. Ivy earns a second spot up here near the top because when it does its worst, climbing the walls and matting thick against the foundation, it combines everything we have talked about into one plant. A deep, humid ground cover mat below, a dense, sheltered climbing layer above, shelter for the mice that carry ticks, cover for snakes, moisture held against your home, and all of it wrapped right around the structure you live in. If you have ivy climbing the house and pulling into a deep mat at the base, that is the one I would deal with first, before anything else on this list. Pull it back from the walls, break up the mat, Keep it far from the doors and windows and give that foundation room to breathe and dry. Your house and your family will both be better for it. Number 1, Japanese barberry. And here it is. The single worst offender, and it is not even close, according to actual scientific research. Japanese barberry, that tidy little shrub with the small leaves and the reddish tint that garden centers have sold by the truckload as a neat, deer-proof, low-fuss hedge plant. Here is what the studies have found, and it is genuinely striking. Areas with Japanese barberry hold dramatically more ticks and more disease-carrying ticks than areas without it. The reason is the plant's structure. Barberry grows dense and thorny, low to the ground, and it traps a pocket of humid, sheltered air underneath that stays damp even when everything around it dries out. That humid little cave is a perfect nursery for ticks, and it shelters the mice that carry them, and the thorns keep predators away from those mice. It is almost as if it were designed to breed ticks. It is such a problem that a number of states have banned its sale outright. So if you have Japanese barberry, especially near the house or the walkway, this is the one I would genuinely consider removing roots and all, ahead of everything else. And here's the good news, because I promised you good news. There is a lovely swap. Ninebark gives you that same colorful foliage from deep purple to bright gold, in a shrub with a far more open, airy structure that does not build that humid tick nursery underneath. You lose nothing but the risk. So there they are, 15 plants that can quietly turn your yard into a place snakes and ticks want to live. But please carry the real lesson with you, not just the list. It was almost never the plant. It was the dense, damp, shady, undisturbed conditions down at ground level. Which means you hold all the power here. Keep things open and airy and trimmed. Clear the leaf litter and the debris and the wood piles from your beds. Put a dry strip of gravel or mulch or mowed grass between the wild, dense plantings and the places your family actually walks and sits. Keep the densest shrubs away from the doors, the windows, and the patio. Do those few things, and even a yard full of the plants on this list becomes a yard that snakes and ticks would rather skip. Tell me down in the comments which of these 15 is growing near your house right now, and which state you are gardening in, and I will tell you honestly how worried I would be. I read every single one, and if you have someone in your life with young grandchildren or a dog and a yard full of dense ivy or a barberry hedge by the front door, please send them this video today. It is the kind of thing nobody thinks to mention until somebody finds a tick, and you might just save them a very bad afternoon. Keep your beds open, keep your family safe, and enjoy that garden of yours without ever having to think twice about what is hiding in it.